Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Amati Auctions based in the UK, and today we're going to have a look at their latest musical instrument catalogue. This particular one is live now and it's finishing on Wednesday the 5th of October. It is the 1st of October today. This particular catalogue is fairly interesting as this is neither an affordable or a fine auction. This is something in the middle. This is a single owner collection, and it seems to be someone's collection that they've amassed over 4 decades, so it's a fairly kind of interesting mix of things, some lower and some higher. I've had a quick kind of look over it. Seems that there's about 300 lots in total, so quite a few. Buyer's fee is 22% on this particular auction. As I said, this is based in the UK, so if you're outside of the UK, then look at the kind of the terms and conditions, shipping, etc., and all the CITES restrictions and all of that fun. I'll just make a quick adjustment here, just so we can see, to 48 lots per page, and we'll see down the bottom that we've got 6 pages to investigate there. This particular auction, actually, as it says here on the more information point, there's a viewing in London on the 3rd of October, which is actually this coming Monday, and I'll hopefully be going there to have a look at some of these lots in person. I'll also try and take some videos of some of the interesting lots and post them up on Monday night, but for the moment we're going to have a look at this catalogue and see what we can find, and then I'll have a look again in person on Monday and see if there's anything special to talk about. So without further ado, I think let's just kind of move on with it and have a look what there is. Let's start on the first lot and make our way through. Okay, so it's a silver mounted violin bow for CHNL Paris there, so estimate is 600 to 1000 there. Good few pictures here, and we have our condition reports as always, so we can see that there is some wear and also abrasions, but otherwise it's seems pretty good. You can always check measurements as well here. We won't do that on every kind of item, but good to bear that in mind. Then lot 2, a nickel mounted violin bow by Roger Devoire. Current bid is 210, the estimate is 2 to 400. Silver mounted viola bow by Joseph Alfred Lamy Pair, so this is a serious bow here, 8 to 12,000. Current bid is £8,000, so a fine French viola bow there, which looks in pretty good condition. Yeah, not much there on the condition report. Silver mounted viola bow by Louis Bazin, 500 to 1000. We're already on a 1100 already, and we've still got a few days left to go. Silver mounted violin bow branded Lupo. Current bid is 120 on that. Gold mounted violin bow by H.R. Frechner. Current bid 425. Nickel mounted violin bow by H.R. Frechner. Current bid 550. Another nickel mounted violin bow by H.R. Frechner. Current bid 300 on that one. Silver mounted violin bow by Gunter A. Paulus. Current bid 350 on that. Silver mounted violin bow by Albert Nürnberger. Current bid 500. Estimate is 500 to 1000. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded. We're looking at starting bids of 200 there. Silver mounted violin bow workshop of GATL, current bid 325, so fairly decent bows so far. Silver mounted violin bow by Otto Derschmidt, current bid 200. Silver mounted violin bow by Francois Lotte, current bid 400. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Justus Mark Gas, current bid is 100 on that one. Silver mounted violin bow branded Victor Fetik, current bid 250. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, current bid of 200. A gold mounted violin bow branded Cressa and Francais, there's an Ivory Act reference there. So current bid on that is 425. Gold mounted violin bow by Gustave Prager, current bid 425. Silver mounted violin bow branded Poisson of Paris, 275. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, we got 300 on that one. Let's move on. Silver mounted violin bow by Karl Müller, 300 bid on that. Silver mounted violin bow by Albert Nürnberger, 400 the current bid. Another silver mounted viola bow, this time by Albert Nürnberger, 600 on that. You can see good money for some of the viola bows. Silver mounted violin bow by Louis Morazon, 800. Silver mounted violin bow by Louis Bazin, 600 current bid on that one. Silver mounted violin bow branded Majestic, that's current bid 60. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Henri Paris, 50 the current bid. Silver mounted violin bow branded Jazz Tubbs, got 220 on that one. Nickel mounted violin bow by Albert Nürnberger, 20 on that. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, got 30 on that. Silver mounted viola bow unbranded. Nickel mounted violin bow unstamped, got 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, 20 so far. Gold mounted violin bow branded W.E. Hills and Sons, 230 is the current bid. Let's move on. An alloy mounted violin bow indistinctly branded, current bid is 20 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Gustave Bernardel, 50 is the current bid. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Francois Lotte, current bid of 40. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Lupo, current bid is 60. A nickel mounted violin bow branded A Lamy of Paris, 30 the current bid. Silver mounted violin bow branded Alfred Aculon, later adjuster, some metalwork change on the frog, Ivory Act reference, current bid 30. Silver mounted violin bow branded E Sartori at Paris, current bid is 30 on that. Still early days, of course. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Albert, current bid of 20. Nickel mounted violin bow branded N Lemaire, current bid is 50. Let's carry on. Nickel mounted viola bow branded Taut, current bid 40. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Pacat, current bid is 10. Silver mounted violin bow branded Ari France, got 40 on that so far. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Taut, 10 is the current bid on that. Silver mounted violin bow branded E Sartori, got current bid of 50. Silver mounted viola bow branded Jules Fetik, current bid is 80. Nickel mounted viola bow branded Vigneron of Paris, current bid of 30. Nickel mounted viola bow branded Lupo, we have 30 on that. Silver mounted viola bow branded A Vigneron, 20 on that. Silver mounted viola bow branded Taut, current bids of 10. The silver mounted violin bow branded E Sartori, 100 current bid on that one. Silver mounted violin bow branded Lupo, current bid of 10. Nickel mounted viola bow unstamped, current bids of 10. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Lupo, 10. Nickel mounted violin bow branded G.A. Hoyer, got 30 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow branded G.A. Stark, that's 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow branded P. Blanchard, got 70 on that one. A nickel mounted violin bow branded Lupo, current bid is 10. A nickel mounted violin bow branded Pilot, current bids of 10 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, current bids of 10. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 again on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that. Let's carry on. Another nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that one. Another nickel mounted violin bow, 10 on this. And again, 10. Further nickel mounted for 10. Silver mounted violin bow unstamped there, 60 on that so far. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, that's at 10. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, 20 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10. Silver mounted violin bow branded PR LeBlanc, 10 on that. Let's carry on. Silver mounted violin bow branded Viome, 20 so far. Nickel mounted viola bow branded Kittel, current bids of 20. Silver mounted viola bow indistinctly branded, that's 40 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, that's 10 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Albert Nürnberger, 10 on that. Silver mounted viola bow branded Paris, 10 on that. A nickel mounted violin bow branded GWH Hohner, that's 10 on that one. Silver mounted violin bow branded W Knopf, current bids of 30 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unstamped, current bids of 10. A nickel mounted violin bow branded Remini Budapest, that's 20 on that so far. A nickel mounted violin bow branded Viome, 10 on this. Let's carry on. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Arthur Thoma, 10 on that so far. Nickel mounted viola bow indistinctly branded, 10. A nickel mounted violin bow branded L. Herman, that's 10 so far on that. Silver mounted violin bow branded Max Wunderlich, 10 on that one so far. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Frisch, possibly, current bid 10. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Cuneo Huri, got 10 on that one. Nickel mounted violin bow unstamped, 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow branded Von Claus, got 30 on that one so far. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Friedrich Glass, 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow branded James Tubbs, 220 on that one so far. Nickel mounted violin bow branded On the Frog, 50 so far. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that so far. Silver mounted violin bow branded P. Bailey, 100 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that one. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow unbranded, 10 on that. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, 60. Silver mounted violin bow unbranded, current bids 50. A nickel mounted viola bow branded Picat, 20 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Roger Breton, 20 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Viome, 10 so far. Nickel mounted violin bow branded W.E. Hills and Sons, 10 on that. Violin bow stick unbranded, 10 on that. Nickel mounted violin bow indistinctly branded, 10. Nickel mounted violin bow branded Paris, 30 so far. Finally we finished that. That's a lot more bows than I actually thought, well over 100 bows, so that's really interesting. So over a third of this auction is purely bows, so that's quite interesting. Some good bows. Actually all of those bows seemed like in fairly good condition, even if they were perhaps maybe not anything super special other than some of the earlier ones, but very interesting in any case. Looks like we're on to violas now. I think there's only a few of these. So we have a viola by Stefano Cogna, Cremona, 1987 there. 3 to 5 is the estimate. Current bids at 3. Body length 421. That's kind of I guess a modern larger size. This looks in almost kind of mint condition, fine condition. Yep, that makes sense. Let's maybe have a look at the viewer while we have the opportunity. Yep, looks in very good condition. Viola labelled Giuseppe Ornati, so estimates 10 to 20, so they're being deliberately vague there. Current bid is 550. This also looks in really good condition. A little bit of a closed crack at the top there. So it looks like whoever this collector was, they liked stuff at least to be in good condition. Now a viola labelled Nicholas Amatus, current bids of 90. And that has a bit of cheek patches there. That's, yeah, not so good condition. I probably spoke a bit too soon there. So massive bits of new wood on the front and on the side. That's fairly substantial there. So that definitely has a few issues. So moving on. Onto cellos now. So I think that was it for the violas. So a cello labelled Giovanni Railich. Estimates is 1200 to 1500. Current bid is 1400 there. So let's have a quick look at the pictures and carry on. See if there's anything. We can an extensive woodworm damage to the ribs and back. More damage may be present that is not immediately evident. You can see this kind of amount of woodworm on the back and on the sides. It's fairly substantial, so important to take that into consideration. So now we have a cello here branded Leon Bernadelle. Estimate is 2 to 4,000. It's already on 3.5, so this is popular. Certainly looks French from the varnish, and it seems in fairly good condition, yet in fine condition, so that would explain why this is very quickly kind of shot up in terms of the value. Cello Germany, circa 1800, or 2 to 4,000 is the estimate. This is already on 5.5, so that's fairly substantial as well. Interesting looking model there. That's a slightly curious scroll. Lots of previous repairs, some open cracks, but don't think anything too unusual for a cello of this age. Slightly interesting model. Cello labelled Goffredo Benedetto Rinaldi there. Current bid 700. This also seems not too bad a condition. Some bits of new wood, some woodworm, some other closed repairs, but nothing too outrageous on that. Cello labelled Joseph Rocca, current bid's 325. Just quickly check the condition report. A big crack on the front, but that's been repaired. Cello labelled Thomas Balistieri, current bid's 150. Interesting. Estimates 10 to 20. See what the condition report says. Not a great deal there. Okay. Cello labelled Gaetano Vinaccia. Estimate was 10 to 20. Current bid is 3,500. Interesting choice of wood there on the back. Let's have a quick look at the condition report and have a bit of a spin round while we can. Cello labelled Michael Decanet. Current bid 1,700. This looks like a interesting varnish there. Few bits of new wood and some cracks. More cellos than I expected, actually. Speaking of that, and now we're at the end. So a violin labelled Francesco Mantegazza. Estimate is 1,000 to 2,000. We've got current bids of 1,100. Interesting back on this. I think this is a violin that I'd quite like to look at in person a bit more. 354 length of back, so I'll try and remember that for Monday. A violin, France circa 1890, current bid 800 there. Looks like quite a nice quality instrument. Violin, School of Derazzi, circa 1870, current bid 1000. Once again, looks like quite a good quality instrument. I think their general quality is fairly high or kind of mid-tier in this auction. So a violin, probably Naples, 19th century. Estimate is 2 to 4 here. Current bid is 2,100. It has a Galliano label. It's quite a nice back there. Be interesting, nice looking scroll. It'd be nice to see what that ultimately ends up going for. Another one probably worth having a look at in person. Violin unlabeled there, 1,000 to 200 the estimate. Current bids of 1,100. Violin, probably Prague, early 19th century there. 2 to 4 is the estimate. We've got bids of 2,000. That's a fairly striking looking violin. That's probably another one to look at a bit closely. 360 length of back. Violin circa 1800. Estimate 1 to 2. Starting bids 1,000. Interesting double purfling there. It's definitely a fairly interesting instrument. Violin, Italy, 19th century, 2.5 to 3.5 is the estimate. And there's current bids of 2,500. Very striking back there and scroll. So actually quickly have a look at the 3D. Nice sides. Interesting violin. Violin ascribed to Giuseppe Fiorini, sold with a certificate of Stefano Conio 1997. Estimate is 1,500 to 2,500. We've already got bids of 2,500, so looks like a fairly tidy instrument there. Violin, 19th century, with a Ferdinandus Galliano label, 800 to 1,200 the estimate. Starting bids at 800, no bids so far. Looks kind of fairly interesting. Violin, Italy, probably Marchi region, circa 1800, with a Joseph Delaglio label there. Current bid of 1,500. Interesting back and kind of wood choice there, and scroll looks very curious. Definitely another one to look at a bit more in person. Actually, just quickly check back to that one, see what the length of back is. 359. A violin ascribed to David Tekla, sold with a certificate of Felix Baumgartner, Basel 1973. 1,500 to 2.5 is the estimate. We already have 2,000 bid. That's a very interesting back and scroll there indeed. That's a very curious looking instrument. Violin labelled Joseph Guadagnini, 800 to 12,800 is the estimate. I think that may be a slightly incorrect estimate there. I presume that that's probably meant to be 800 to 1,200 maybe. That's a bit strange. Anyway, current bid is 800. Let's have a quick look here. It's had a lot of kind of revarnish and work there. It's still fairly interesting looking instrument there. Violin labelled Antonius Stradivarius. current bid 160. Everything so far looks kind of interesting, even if it might not look like anything super outrageous. It definitely looks interesting. Violin labelled Barani Dezo, Budapest. Current bid 750 on that. The estimate was 10 to 20. It's a nice back varnish. Looks quite interesting actually on that scroll details. Violin unlabelled. Got £20 bid on this. Even the things which look fairly standard, they still look interesting from a varnish point of view. Violin unlabelled here. It's quite interesting shape there. Current bids of 20 on that. Violin labelled Eugenio Degani there, 240 is the bids on that. Violin labelled Maestro Albanus. Looks very Germanic, I would think. Current bid 50. Violin unlabelled there. Current bid 80. This looks fairly tradey to me. Probably the first one that looks like that. Violin labelled Galliano, current bid 20. This one also is a little bit normal looking. Violin unlabelled, current bid 250. It's not too bad. Violin labelled Francesco Ruggieri, 70 is the current bid on that one. Interesting looking back on that. It's slightly odd. Interesting looking scroll. That's this is quite an interesting looking violin. If I'll try and remember, I'll try and have a look at this one. The marks on the scroll, definitely an interesting looking thing. Yeah, that's quite an interesting violin. Violin unlabelled here. Current bid 10 to £10 there. Looks fairly normal. Violin labelled Eugenio Degani. That looks fairly interesting there. Current bid 150. Violin labelled Alessandro Despin. Current bid 45. Quite a nice back on that. Violin labelled Alexandra Despin again. Looks almost the same, kind of from an outline point of view. Current bid 150 on that. Violin unlabelled 40 is down on that one. Violin labelled Romeo Antionazzi, 30 bid on that so far. Some of the early ones were very interesting. Now it's getting a bit more normal. Violin unlabelled there, £20. Some of these are not as exciting. Violin labelled Otello Binami, current bid 600. That looks in pretty good condition, fine condition there. Violin labelled Carlo Antonio Testore there, current bid 350, branded cat on button. Violin labelled Carlo Giuseppe Testore there, current bid 150. That's interesting back with kind of either painted or purfling on there. Interesting scroll. That's another one that might be worth having a look at in person. Wonder what the length of back there. 360. Violin labelled Jean-Baptiste Schweitzer. This is some absolutely mad looking varnish going on there. Current bid 10. That is looks like an art piece. That's pretty bizarre. A violin labelled Antoni Baptiste, 20 on that one. Violin labelled Johannes Galliano, £30 the current bid. Violin labelled Antonio Mariani, that's a nice kind of back on that, 80, it's the current bid. Violin unlabelled, £20 on that one so far. Violin labelled Antonio Stradivarius, that looks more to be a trade instrument there, 180 current bid. Violin unlabelled, 20 so far. Violin labelled Andrea Biziak, 375 on that one so far. Violin labelled Pietro Capodici, 140 bid on that so far. Violin labelled Lorenzo Ventapane, current bids of 30 on that. A violin labelled Raphael and Antonio Galliano, £425 on that. It's quite a nice striking back on that one. Violin labelled Vincenzo Iorio, 70 on this one so far. Violin unlabelled, 60 is the current bid. Violin labelled Joseph and Antonius Galliani, 350 is the current bid. That also looks potentially interesting. A violin labelled Galliano Nicolos, 220 is the current bid. Violin labelled Joseph Galliano, 30 is the current bid. A violin labelled Johannes Galliano, this is slightly odd looking, 40 current bid. Violin labelled Rafael Antonio Galliano again, 20. That is a little odd as well. Violin unlabelled, got starting bids of 10 on that, so there's no bids on that one. Violin labelled Joan Carol Klotz, current bids 20. This is kind of a bit more of the standard stuff here. Violin labelled Petrus Guarnerius, 300. A lot of these have a quite similar outline of these instruments. Violin labelled Nicholas Galliano, current bid 500. Violin labelled Giovanni Pistucci, we've got 80 on this. Violin labelled Vincenzo Cennino. I think in general this is kind of a slightly higher level than the affordable stuff, but some of this stuff is fairly normal looking. Violin labelled Lorenzo Ventapane. It might be a bit clearer in person as to if some of this stuff is a bit more interesting looking than it might appear. Violin labelled Matthias Alabanus, 60 on that so far. Violin labelled Andres Postacchini, 80 on that so far. That looks fairly tradey to me. Violin labelled Bertolomeo Obizzi, 20 on that one so far. That's a slightly interesting shape. Violin labelled Domenicus Montagnana. Violin unlabelled. It's fairly nice back on that, 450. Yeah. A violin labelled Johannes Baptiste Guadagnini. Current bid 350. Violin unlabelled. Current bid 110. Slightly curious, that one. Violin labelled Renato Scolavizza. Interesting corners on that. That's very interesting. The scroll, curious. This is an instrument I quite like to look at in person, actually, just because it's a little bit unusual. Violin unlabelled. Current bid 100. Interesting varnish and scroll there. Reminds me of something, but can't quite recall what. Violin unlabelled. Current bid 20. Slightly odd looking there. Looks like it's had a bit of a tough life. Violin unlabelled. Missing neck and head there. 20 is the current bid on that. Violin unlabelled. Looks like half the head's missing. This is very much a tradey type thing. 20 the current bid. Violin labelled Joseph Guarnerius. There's no bids on that one at all. Interesting tool marks on the scroll, but looks a bit suspect. Violin labelled Andre Castagneri. Current bids 40. Actually, the grain on that back is quite tight. So interesting looking scroll. Violin unlabelled there. Current bid 40. Violin inscribed Marquis de Lair. Current bids of 60. Violin unlabelled. Fairly interesting. Quite curious scroll. I wonder if there's any notes here. Nope, that's fairly interesting instrument. Violin labelled Simpertus Nigel. Current bids of 30. Nice back on that. The varnish looks quite interesting. Shame the scroll is in a bit of a funny condition, but interesting. Violin unlabelled. Current bids of 70. That's quite a striking back there. A set of 4 books here. Repairing and Restoration of Violins by Horace Petherick. Antonio Stradivari by Horace Petherick. Joseph Guarnerius, His Work and His Master by Horace Petherick. And Violin Making by Walter H. Mason. Current bids of 40. Violin Makers of the United States. Current bid 140. That's a good book. I have it. It is decent. Alta Geigen and Bogen. Old violins and bows. That's £30 there. Klingender Thaler. Current bids of £10 there. Contra Bassi Cremonese. Current bid 90. Cremonese double basses, interesting. Luteria Italiano, Italian violin making there, 50 on that. The Retford Centenary Exhibition, current bids of 10. Huliask Umeni na Slovensku, interesting, 30. Looks like it could be pretty interesting book. Huslia Oswald J. Villman, starting bid of 10. Not 100% sure on that. Bows for instruments there. £100 bids on that. Violin family, its makers in the British Isles, 30 for that. Geigen und Geiger, 10 starting bid. Viome book, £10 starting book. Gaetano and Pietro Scarabolto, current bid 40. Violinari and Violini, starting bids of 10. Arte Luteria 10. Luteria de Cremona 40. Dictionnaire Universel de Luthier 10. Antonio Stradivari and his instruments, starting bids of 10. Linee Classica della Luteria Italiana, starting bids of 10. Capolavori de Antonio Stradivari, starting of 10. Geigen Baukunst 10. Arte Artigianato Societa, starting bids of 10. Violin makers of the Guarneri family, that's easier for me to pronounce, current bid 10. Violins Vio, current bid 20. De Gehemenes Stradivarius, current bids 10. International School of Cremona, 2 school years of violin making, starting bid of 10. 12 slot bow case there, current bid 20. 24 slot bow case, current bid 30. 24 slot bow case, current bid 20. 24 slot bow case, current bid 30. 24 slot bow case, current bid 30. 24 slot bow case, current bid 10. Another 24 slot bow case, current bid 10. 4-pack violin case, current bid 40. An adjustable viola case, current bid 20. Looks quite nice actually. Violin case branded Raboni and Ruffini, current bid 40. 2-pack violin case branded Gaywa, Concord Etui, current bid 70. 4-pack violin case 80. 4-pack violin case 70. 4-pack violin case 30. A 4-pack violin case with 12 integrated bow spaces 170. 4-pack violin case 40. Double violin case 10. Violin case branded Hans Sights 20. An antique violin case 10. Maple wood for violin with a neck. More wood for violin with a neck. Maple wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Spruce wood for violin with neck and ribs. And maple wood for violin with neck. Spruce wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Spruce wood for violin with neck. Maple wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Spruce wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Spruce wood for violin with ribs. Maple wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Maple wood for violin. And that's it, I think. Or if we, oh no, we got stuck there. Maple wood for violin with neck. Spruce wood for violin, complete with neck and ribs. Maple wood for violin with neck. Maple wood for violins, complete with neck and ribs. Maple wood for violin with ribs. Spruce wood for violin. More maple wood there. More spruce wood for violin. More spruce. More spruce there. More spruce. Some more spruce. Maple wood there for violin. Some spruce. More maple. More maple. And I think that might actually finally be it. Yes, I think that is the last thing. So we finished off with a bit of wood as well, so that's kind of interesting. Let's just triple check that that's everything covered there. I think so. So we're up to lot 274. So yeah, that's it. That's a quick look at this latest Amati auction, 4 decades of instrument collection from a kind of a single owner sale. Really quite a staggering amount of bows. Some very kind of, all the bows looked in fairly good condition. Some really classy kind of bits early on. Some interesting kind of cellos. Also some really interesting violins at the beginning. The quality starting to taper off towards the end and getting a bit more tradey, but certainly the first kind of good half of instruments either very interesting or at least kind of slightly above average and worth investigating further. So as I said at the beginning, I'm going to have a look at this kind of open viewing which is taking place on the Monday, and I'm going to take some short videos that I'll upload on Monday evening, just showing some of the instruments or bows that I thought look kind of interesting in person. So once again, thanks a lot for watching the video. Look out for these short videos that I'm going to upload on Monday, and yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Take care and goodbye. Ciao. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.